Hey, welcome back for the 19th episode of Faith, Family, and Politics. I'm your special guest host, emphasis on special, Alan McFarland. And to my left here, we have the man.
We're going to have a really big show today.
Louis Rodriguez, that is. Thank you, Louis. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Great. We have our guest here, Jeremy Hess.
Special.
Emphasis
on special.
Emphasis on special. You know, that guy, especially.
Exactly.
How you doing today?
Doing good. Excited to be a part of this. Josh has been trying, he's been holding the gun to my head like, hey, you need to come on this podcast, right? You're coming on the podcast. I'm like, oh, hey.
A little bit of click.
So I said, yeah.
Well, you have about an hour and a half to be less excited.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how unexcited I get. But it's good to be here.
And of course, your wonderful host, who I don't want to talk up as much as I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who is actually going to be bringing the message this week, Josh Cummins. And while we're sitting here talking, before we move on to the next thing, I think you guys need to smash that like button, share on all your favorite social media, and most importantly, subscribe. Bills are paid, guys.
Yeah. Comment.
That, what he said.
We like those.
Even the bad ones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we're going to change things up with who's leading us in prayer this week.
Yeah.
And we're going to put the new guy in the hot seat.
It is very actually kind of warm right here.
It's kind of warm.
Yes.
We get you close to the lights. It's very
Yeah.
close to the lights,
Yeah.
guys.
I think he sat on it first before I got here. Warmed things up for me.
I like it. That's good.
I'm grateful in certain ways. But
So if you'd like to lead us in prayer, please.
we'll do.
Thank you.
Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for bringing us through another week. We ask your blessing upon this time together. We ask your blessing upon Josh as he brings the message and the subjects that we talk about. Help us to be forthright. Help us to be wise on what we say. And we just want to give you all the praise and glory for all that you do in our lives and what you do in our world. And just to look forward to see what you have in store for us. And in always saying do, we want to give you praise in your name. Amen.
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 Thank you, sir. So, what's the topic today?
So this week the title is "You Gotta Have Faith."
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys have as well. I don't know.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it.
Oh, you got to think twice.
I do have to give a shout out. We typically overlook our wonderful producer back there, Sterling. You guys can't see him. He's half-heartedly waving at us. But
over there. Can you shout Sterling for it so they can maybe hear you on the audio?
come on, belt it.
Yeah.
Belt it.
It's good to be here.
All right.
He sounds like he's chained to a pipe.
That's because he is.
Oh, is he?
Oh, his ankle.
I just noticed that pipe.
Yeah.
Good touch.
Thanks for chaining him in, Cameron. We appreciate it.
Nice touch.
Yeah.
We give him the key if everything goes well tonight.
Assistant producer Cameron Reed, he's also in the studio enjoying time with us tonight. So it's always a pleasure for him to join us as well. But yeah, the title this week is "You Gotta Have Faith." So first, I want us to talk about one of the elements in our relationship with God, faith. Jesus talked about whether people had it or not. It creates an atmosphere around our lives. Without it, it is impossible to please him. It is a game changer to our present day reality and our future hope. We are talking about faith, of course. You gotta have faith. We hear a lot about faith, don't we? When we attend church or read the Bible, we know it's needed. However, you find yourself asking, what is faith? And how can I have that faith? The Bible talks about faith in Hebrews 11, saying that it is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. I'll repeat that real quick because it's going to come up a few more times, but confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. That is what faith is. It is that confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. A life of faith is a life of confidence and assurance in God. It is very important to God that we live by faith. Why, you ask? Because he wants us to have life and live all of that it has to offer us. He is our Heavenly Father, and He wants us to have a blessed life. Only when we put our confidence and assurance in Him does He give us all that life has to offer. And this makes God happy. Faith isn't just about what we receive. It is about confidence that God is able. And when we trust in Him, we have confidence and assurance to believe for anything. A life of faith is a life of confidence and assurance. Faith is about a position we stand in. To live in faith is knowing I can be confident and assured. Are you confident and assured in God? Where have you lost your confidence?
And man, all of it.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
God gives His word and man just perverts it, right?
It's true.
What about you, Louis? Have you,
Woman.
It's woman. Fair enough. Particularly press secretaries, maybe?
Yes.
We were talking about that a little bit before the show. So now faith is assurance of things. This is Hebrews 11:1. So I can quote it. Now faith is assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. John chapter 10, verse 10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. That's a pretty powerful statement from Jesus. Because he's saying, he's giving us life abundantly. All that life has to offer. And the only thing that the thief wants is to steal and to kill and destroy. Sounds like a modern day liberal, I think, to me.
Government.
Yeah. A little bit of overreach there.
Mm.
So see where this correlates, why this show exists? Well, how do you get faith? As Christians, we know we are called to have faith, to be a people of faith, and to live by faith. However, sometimes we make it all about ourselves and not enough about God. We think faith starts with us. We think that we get faith, we need to get a faith to approach God. But the amazing thing about God is that He is faithful to us way before we have faith in Him. We need to understand that God has already done the heavy lifting. He has gone before us. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4 through 5 says, He chose us, adopted us, wanted us, well before we chose Him. He loved us and chose us first. He was faithful to us before we ever needed to be faithful to Him. Because of this, His faithfulness towards me gives me faith. I can be filled with faith because the God I serve is faithful. This foundation of God's faithfulness gives hope. It gives me faith. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8 tells us that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He does not change. He does not run hot and cold. He is loyal, committed, and firm towards us. We can find solace in that. When I know the nature of God, it gives me great faith. Faith doesn't come from striving, getting more done, achieving things. We get caught up in that sometimes. But from knowing the nature and goodness of God, we make faith about tangible results, but God makes it about knowing who He is and living from that revelation. We don't live for His approval. We live from His approval. I can have faith today when I remember the nature and character of God, the God I serve. He is faithful, so I can be faith-filled. Let that shape your faith today. Where have you been trying to earn God's approval rather than living from God's approval?
I think we kind of put God in a box. We want to see human standards in God, or sometimes we see human standards in God. And God is, obviously He sees the inside rather than the outside. We can quickly judge. Obviously, we see a lot of that in the media, Hollywood. You can get quickly judged by someone saying something or impugning your character, and you're guilty before you're proven innocent type of thing. It's no longer, you're innocent till proven guilty. But God doesn't do that. He sees beyond. He knows our thoughts. He knows, our ways. Even when we're doing things wrong, he still loves us the same. There's that same faithfulness that you talk about. It does not change, even though we feel like, I just did something. He must hate me. Or, again, that's putting God in that box and saying, well, because this person saw me this way, that person saw me this way, we think God sees us that way, and that's not the case at all.
Almost like he's on a list, like, oh, well, God's first, obviously,
right,
and second will be this or that, and the other fame, all that stuff can come after, and we forget about that. We lose our way, and you hit the nail on the head there, because Hebrews chapter 13 verse 8, you almost quoted it there. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Right. Forever.
I was so afraid you were going to be like, right here in this passage, people put God in a box. I was like, oh my gosh, that's in the Bible?
That's
amazing.
Ark of the Covenant has been claimed to be so it's interesting. Maybe we'll go down that rabbit hole another day. Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20 says, now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us. So God can give us even more than what we think we're even asking for. And it's not that we're just like, gimme, 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 but, just those simple prayers of like, thank you for another day, that blessing, but also, hey, while we're at it, God,
here's a found turkey sandwich.
Can you move this mountain? And then we believe it. And when we believe it, he does it. It's pretty amazing.
And don't forget
making a sandwich. Is that what you said?
I said, God gives you another day, and that's enough of a blessing right there if that's all you're asking for. And then suddenly, there's a found turkey sandwich or cold pizza in the sofa. There we go.
Yeah, that is nice. Or you find that extra 20 in your pocket.
Boom! Right,
yeah.
Old jacket, $20 bill.
Happened to me not too long ago. Remember, we was down here. We were getting ready to pack up and leave after we got done recording, and I was like, money.
See, and if you're only asking for the next day, you're getting so much more.
Yeah. It's like, we talked about it on another episode, but Louis had talked about what he would do if, whether it take $1 million if he only got to wake up one more day, or would he just go on living because it's worth more? And he said, actually, I'd go ahead and I'd take the money because think of all the people I could help in that one day.
That's pretty incredible, man.
Yeah.
I was guest hosting that day, and it was just, oh man, it was amazing to hear that statement.
Because a younger man would have never thought of that.
A less knowledgeable man.
One more thing, right, Louis? One more thing.
Another thing is, God, he puts us all here on earth.
Yes, he did.
And whenever things go wrong, we always blame God. Oh, why God this happens to me? Why that happened to me? We always blame. But God, he don't take care of our problems. He put us down here, and he left us so we could do what we have to do on our own. He leaves us to do what we need to do on our own. And from there on, all he cares is that you believe in him. And we have to stop blaming him for whatever we do wrong.
Blaming God for people problems.
Yeah.
I get that. That's
a good point. And I think that could be a whole other message too. So
yes.
Thanks for the inspiration so on a future date, look for that one.
And the good thing is we know that, when we go through troubles, usually that's God either testing our faith, or we know that God already has provision for whatever you're going through, already in place. He is, proactive in everything that he does. So we just go through and we think, oh no, trouble. And we're looking at it's the 100-foot wall that you can't get across. And God's like, well, I got a ladder over here. It's going to be hard, and it's not going to be easy to deal with it.
It's a 6-foot ladder, but it'll get you a start.
Then he's going to fly you up the rest of the way. That's the rocket pack. But that's what I appreciate. Moving when I moved down here to Indianapolis, that was a big leap of faith. For those who don't know, I moved from upstate New York down to Indianapolis, kind of like taking a step of faith. Having that mountaintop moment and praying to the Lord. In fact, it was we have this place called Round Top, and that was just a little park, nice little, and it was just one of those things. I went up there and I just prayed about it, and I said, Lord, this is where I feel like I need to go, and if this is where you want me, then you got to take the reins, take the wheel on this, as a step
Jesus
of faith.
take the wheel, yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know how it was going to turn out. It's like I could have come down here and things could have gone horrible. And I would have ended up back in New York, which I don't think a lot of people want to go to New York right now, but
No.
especially New Yorkers. But,
Especially the
anyways,
elderly.
Yeah. No, literally.
Talk about a gun to the head.
Yeah.
But you lived in a better place than what I lived.
Yeah.
I was raised in the Bronx. So
Oh, see. Yeah.
they
So-
definitely don't want to go there.
Yeah. But it was just no job opportunities. There was just a lot of stuff going on in my life at that time. And I moved down here. And like I said, I moved here in June of 2016. I had a job by July 5th of 2016, and I've held constant employment since then. So to me, that is like, God kind of answering that prayer, like, yeah, this is what I had provided for you. You just had to take that step of faith and know. And now that I'm working with Josh, so shout out to my buddy Josh.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. This is the job that I've been looking to get. And again, it was just everything has fallen into place the way it was supposed to. And I'm looking at it like, wow, I couldn't have planned this better if I tried, It was like, throwing a dart. But the Lord, it's like, I already got this taken care of,
Yeah.
So, faith rewarded. And yeah, I've had my struggles here. I still have struggles. But yet I'm more constant in, like you said, not getting angry with God. It's like, that's not God throwing trouble your way saying, I'm going to trip him up now. That's God allowing things to happen because, hey, we live in a fallen world. Bad things happen to everybody, And if you trust in the Lord, he's got provision to get you through those difficult times.
That's right.
certainly.
Life ain't easy.
Exactly.
Certainly isn't. And you making that leap of faith, that's faith in action.
Right.
Yeah.
That was like Abraham saying, well, God's telling him, hey, we're going to go to this place. You're not going to know anybody. You're not going to know where you're going. I knew where I was going, obviously. But, hey, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you had no idea what you're getting into.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And then I met this guy. I'm like, oh, man, what did I
Sorry.
give myself?
You still don't know what you got into.
No, I don't know either.
He's got a while before he really finds out, doesn't he?
my favorite thing is to talk to somebody from a coast, like from a major city, because one of my friends came from Los Angeles here.
Oh, man.
And he was like, I'm going to, basically one of his friends said, I'm going to go join a racing team. And he's like, okay, I'm going with you, just blindly, right? They flew here, and then they were flying. They're like, we're approaching, Indianapolis International. And they look down, they're like, it's a forest. Like, where's this airport? So I love talking to people who come from, like, big cities. I mean, our city isn't small, but when you come into it from all around the city, it looks like a forest.
See, I've been to where Louis is at. I've been to New York City, and I've seen big city. I lived in San Diego, and that's like small town, big city. I don't know. How do you explain it? It's very spread out, I guess. So, you see that, and it's just like, it's overwhelming. Like, New York City can get overwhelming. If you're walking around, it's like it was just a mass of people. And Indianapolis is like a mini version of New York. Like, there's traffic, but not New York traffic.
Right.
There's a lot of people, but not New York City
Hey,
people.
it's just not the same.
You forget about it, But, I mean, it's just amazing. Like I said, it's a big city. A lot of things can happen in a big city, and a lot of things could go wrong. But obviously, the Lord has saw fit that, hey, this is where I want you. This is where I need you. And good church family, good friends that I met. And in a very brief amount of time, I met like most of the friends that I know now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, strong friendships that just carry on. And that's, to me, it's overwhelming sometimes. And like you said, thanking God, hey, man, I'm breathing today. I'm getting out of bed and I'm walking, And that's just, praise him for the small things, praise him for the big things. And a lot of times praise him for the unseen things, those times where you're driving and you look and there's this big accident where you would have been driving. You're like, it could have been me,
That's why I was a few minutes late today. Yeah.
Yeah. See?
I find myself getting infuriated. I'm late. I want to drive fast,
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
see.
Oh,
You talk about being thankful it wasn't you. I'm like, ha! It wasn't me. You missed me.
Try again.
That's why it's like running away from bullets, running away from gunfire. You zigzag. I zigzag a little bit, and I'm like, missed me. Sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
Speaking of getting shot at in New York City, we do live in hard times.
Yeah, definitely.
And because of that, we need our faith more than ever before. When the world around us is pulling us in so many different directions, we need to return daily to the faithfulness of God, reminding ourselves who He is and who we are in Him. We need to set self-pride aside and declare that we are His. We need to remind ourselves of the goodness of God. He is faithful to His promises and loving to all He has made. He was faithful to us. He chose us and accepted us. His plans for us are good, and His plans for us are to experience life to its fullest. However, we are reminded that becoming a follower of Jesus doesn't mean that the absence of doesn't mean the absence of trials. We just talked about trials, and so trials give us the ability to respond with faith. As we embrace trials, we can grow in our perseverance, and our character grows, and our faith grows. Trials are an opportunity to use our faith as a counterattack to the arrows of the enemy. The greatest weapon we have in our arsenal of faith is Scripture. When we speak and declare Scripture in the midst of our trials and challenges, the atmosphere around us changes. We can shift the atmosphere with our faith. Did you know that even Jesus faced challenges to His faith? He experienced pain and displayed emotion. His example is an example to us of how we can respond when challenges to our faith come. We can remove the obstructions and speak life. You gotta have faith. Romans chapter 10, verse 17. So faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. Mark chapter 11, verses 22 through 24. And Jesus answered them, have faith in God. Truly, I say to you, whoever says this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt it in his heart, but believes what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. That's really powerful. Psalms chapter 145, verse 13, Song of David. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures throughout all generations. The Lord is faithful in all His words and kind in all His works. Which aspect of faith is most challenging for you, and where do you think you need to grow?
That's a
Poignant question.
yeah, definitely. We have to look inward there.
That was the point of it. Yeah, certainly.
Just like those arrows.
Yes.
I was sorry when I was listening to that. I'm buying a little time here while everybody's thinking, but when I was thinking about it, it was like, the best defense against this is Scripture. I was thinking of someone holding like a tablet of the 10 Commandments, completely blocking arrows with it. It was just kind of that's what my brain's doing while you're talking.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, no one's getting through that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
certainly. Well, I mean, it was made of stone, so arrows versus stone.
Right.
It's not
nothing. Not going to happen.
It's good for defense and attack too.
Exactly.
So.
Short range attack.
Well, you could throw it at them. I mean, that might lessen the life on it, according to what we've seen from Moses. But yeah.
Well, we need to grow on is on being a father, being a husband, learning how to teach our kids to do right from wrong, and other stuff like that is what we need to learn how to grow and be good and have the faith in God.
So being good men of God,
Yeah.
essentially, and being a good man in general.
See, and I think what you guys talk about primarily, or what you hear about most, is like politics and America, and how it affects the social fabric that we see in our country. Yeah. And for me, I think that's you talk about where do you find your struggle according to faith, and a lot of times you see what's going on in the in the news media, because a lot of what you see in the news media is like thrown in your face, like it's like this everywhere, and it's really not. It's like minimal, but they make it seem like it's just this big giant, gorilla in the room, where it's really just a mouse. But, for me, that's my struggle, is trusting that the Lord is going to see us through this, all the bad stuff that we see going on in our country, and how, race relations are, just really, everyone's kind of on edge. And, how, like I said, how it's portrayed by the media and by the government, and seeing that, and people are just lying straight out. And it's like, you just want to call them out on everything. Like,
Yes.
Okay, I need to say something or do something. And it's like, nope. My dad's the one that says, I feel the same, but you have to trust that the Lord's got this. He's going to take care of things. It's like, yeah, but, and he's like, no, we got to trust the Lord. But yeah, but no. You talk about it, and then you take a deep breath, and you let it go, So it's like, oh, yeah, fine, all right. But there's a lot of truth in that, and seeing.
So what you're saying is that people could grow by watching this show and subscribing so that they can see it every week.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a great view there, buddy. I love where you're coming with that. So subscribe, watch it, share it, force don't force them. Just tell them
we're
to.
not the federal government here. Come on.
I think kind of where I could be better in faith is kind of what we talked about earlier. Actually, it's the point you made about people personify God, right? And the problem is I'm not any better about that than anyone else. And so when you personify God, but then you also don't trust people, you see that? So one becomes, they become one and the same, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're like, all right, well, God holds me to this standard because other people hold me to this standard. He views me this way because other people, or people in general, from my perspective, view me this way. But I don't trust those people. Then maybe I don't trust God. And in certain ways, not having that faith, I do have faith. I do believe in God, but not having that faith has allowed me to push myself, going, okay, I don't have that kickstand. I don't have that crutch back there. If for some reason I fail, He's not going to pick me up because I don't trust Him, because I don't trust people, and I'm personifying God, right? So I think I could be better in that way. I should just say in that way of actually just saying, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay to fail, because regardless of what I think is tangible, they're material goods. It's something that at the end of the day, God's not really going to care too much about.
Right.
And to that point, Alan, actually just read that scripture just a minute ago. So that whole falling and it's all on you. It's like God has faith in you well before you have faith in Him. We read it right out of the scripture. So we can go in with that confidence, that assurance. I told you those words are going to be important, right?
You only said it 16 times.
16 times, just 16 times.
Just one.
Just
one
make
more.
it. Put it on a T-shirt.
Okay.
At
One
this
more
point.
time.
Could you assure me that you said it 16 times?
You can be confident in that.
Since it's episode 19, you got to do it at least 19 times. So a little catching up to do on that.
Tell me, do you think God hears all of us
I like when
at
Louis
the
does
same
this.
time?
No.
No, that's why He made angels, right? We all have angels, and we tell our angels what we feel, and they go and tell God.
They're messengers.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're our messengers.
Yeah.
So we also have to have faith in them to bring the message to God and hope God hears us through them.
Well, when you're saved by Christ through faith, He hears you, certainly. And whether the angel is the messenger or God's ears next to you in that moment, because He is omnipresent and He's everywhere. He can totally listen to you anytime. But either way, if you have faith that the message is going through to God, He's hearing it, and not only is He hearing it, but He's actively pursuing what you're asking Him.
But there's a lot of millions of people, billions.
Well, a lot of people are asking, let me win this scratcher.
All at the same time.
A lot of people do ask a lot of the things at the same time, and so yes, but that's the greatness of God. He can multitask. Yeah,
I will say this though, because I've heard, missionaries talk about situations where, or I mean, not even missionaries, just people in general, like a gentleman walking into a Hell's Fire. Well, I mean, pretty close, but Hell's Angels club. And, at first he's like, what am I doing? It's like, why did you send me here, Lord? And it was basically the Lord saying, you need to talk to somebody. You need to talk to this guy. And he walked into this bar and he got these looks from all these Hell's Angels, and he's probably heard all the stories. And he just, I'm dead. He had that feeling. And then everybody just kind of went back to what they were doing. And he was like, okay. So he went and talked to this gentleman he felt like the Lord was leading him to talk to. And later on, that gentleman got saved, and he said, I have a question. I know that you guys, anybody that is not part of that group, walking into that bar, you're basically signing your death warrant. So how did I survive that? He said, well, when you came in, there was this guy who followed you in, and this dude looked like he could, chew nails. Yeah. And he's like, no, there was no one that came in to that bar with me. So again, it was, if you talk about angels, walking among us, that was one of those moments that was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. And I've heard of other stories of angels doing some, God sending these angels specifically to protect or guide someone. Most recently was when those missionaries, I don't know if you heard about the missionaries that were stuck down in Haiti, had been kidnapped by a group of, it's bad down in Haiti. My brother and his wife are missionaries down there. Currently cannot go back into the country because it's just bad, very bad. But these missionaries were down there. They had basically closed the country, saying, we don't have an embassy down there. These people didn't get out in time. They were kidnapped by this, band of thugs and guys with guns, obviously. Yeah. And we prayed, a whole group of people. My brother and sister knew of them. Had interacted with them a couple times, and they said, just pray. And they released, I think, 5 people at one point. And then they said one night, this group said, hey, they're not guarding us. No one's watching us. And they said, they just had this feeling, hey, get out of here now. And so they got up, walked out into the jungle, nowhere, said, hey, I think we recognize that hill. And it was just, one of those things where you hear the story, and it's just like, there's, how much had to happen for them to be able to get out of there and find a safe haven so where they could be extradited or get out of there.
Something that's seemingly impossible became possible.
And again, it's like Paul saw us in the jail, or people that walked out of the jail and the guards were like, no, the doors are locked. How did they do this? And it was one of those moments where it was just, they got out, and of course, the bandits are, we let them go. It's like, no, you didn't.
Sure you did.
Believe that, they'll tell you another one. But it's just, again, that's God putting angels, maybe not visually, but God definitely directing them, saying, hey, and, there's a bunch of stuff you could walk into down in, jungles of Haiti, and they got through safe. No one got injured. No one was severely, there were malnutrition. There was malnutrition, but nothing, and to me, that's a miracle right there. That's God putting angels in that position, saying, just get them out of there, direct them out of there.
Certainly.
And it's amazing to hear stories like that and say, see, you go back to that. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So the angels we hear about in the Bible are the same angels that we see interacting and helping people through various issues or protecting them. And I've driven a couple of times on 465. I know God's, and I know there's some angels probably working overtime, like tag teaming it. But
that's the highway system here in Indianapolis for those who are.
Oh yeah, sorry. It's crazy. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's essentially just a giant racetrack.
Yeah, big circle around the city of Indianapolis.
If you're going 10 miles over, you're still going too slow. So it's amazing how God, watches over. My brother and I came back from. He came back from Iraq. I came back from Kuwait. We weren't, injured. We weren't killed. We haven't really suffered too much with regards to our experiences over there. So again, that's God's hand protecting us. And my grandpa told me some stories too. It's like he should have not made it, but yeah, he did. And I mean, it's got to be God. I know he had a mother and a father that prayed. And so it's just amazing, where you can look back at your family's life and say, well, that person shouldn't be alive, or that should have been the end of the story right there. And they're still there,
Absolutely.
So whether they put faith in God or not, I have faith. And so therefore I'm going to pray for them. If I feel like, hey, they're going through a rough time or going through difficulty, or just I felt like I needed to pray for that person. And usually that's God saying, hey, this person needs prayer. And again, I've heard stories of people going through a bad time over in the mission field. Something bad's about to happen. And it's just, how did I get out of that? And, this person said, hey, I was praying for you at this time, on this day. And it's like, wow,
Yeah, that's when it hits you.
Right.
Yeah. And it's across the world, not just like down the street. It's like across the world. And yet they prayed for you at about the same time you were facing off against this. So
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
And I'm happy you actually kind of went in on family there, because our next portion here,
there you go.
excellent,
Awesome transition.
Perfect transition there, buddy. Nice segue. Impactful moments with family. So who wants to start us off?
I think I can do that.
You think you can?
There
I think I can. I think I can.
I believe in you. Josh,
The little engine that could.
I believe in you, sir.
So
This.
I think this week I want to take a chance to talk about my grandma.
Okay.
And you and I actually talked about this the other night. So it's kind of funny. I think it was you and I that talked, but maybe it was Jeremy and I.
No,
I get confused.
it wasn't
I'm a busy
me.
guy.
Wasn't me.
It was me.
No.
What? Fine.
I'll take
Fine.
credit for that.
I was having a conversation about my grandmother.
He
with
never
someone.
talks to me.
Yeah, we only hang out all the time.
Check out Laughing Libertarian.
I'm on my heels. Yes, Jack. Yes, do check out Laughing
Shameless
Libertarian.
plug.
Subscribe to that. Comment on the videos. Share it.
And no, that's the only time Josh talks to me.
Yeah.
Do you laugh a lot?
No.
Oh, it's an ironic name. I like
Yes.
it. That's
It's more of a
Yeah.
it's more of a conservative hipster show.
Oh, gotcha.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry about
Yeah,
your grandma.
It's like
Yeah.
when we call Louis Biggie.
So, Josh,
And I'm Smalls.
Oh, gotcha.
yeah,
Like
Josh,
it.
tell us about your grandma, since I haven't heard about this yet.
Now,
Okay,
do you have a
so,
special name for your grandma, or did you just
so,
call her grandma?
So I always just called her. We had like most people, we had two grandmas growing up. So we had my dad's mom, Grandma Moore, and then my mom's mom, Grandma Cummins, because of the last name. So, but yeah, I spent a lot of time with my Grandma Cummins, my mom's mom. I didn't hang out with my friends a whole lot on the weekends, although when I was smaller, I hung out with this guy across the table, Alan, a lot when we were kids. But on the weekends, it was time to go be with Grandma. Mm-hmm. And Alan can sure appreciate time with Grandma, because I know that he stayed a lot with his grandma, and that's how I met him, is because he was staying at his grandma's when
Grandma's right across the street. Yeah,
exactly, right across the street from the house I grew up in.
He'd bail on me every weekend.
Those women must be. They got halos then,
Yes,
right?
Yes, amazing.
Made
women,
of stone.
Both of them, they had to put up with this. But both of us,
Steel.
certainly. They certainly had faith. You can
That's awesome.
Be confident and have assurance in that. But yeah, in particular, Grandma bringing me to church as a kid. God rest her soul, she passed away in 2019. Yeah. But I know my parents brought me a lot to church and everything, and so did my other grandma. But because it was her, and I don't know what it was, I just had such an attachment to her in particular, and I think that was God driven, because I would pay attention in church when I was with her. I didn't really pay attention when I was like with mom and dad. It's like I'm hanging out with my brother, crawling underneath the pews, and
Is that the impact we're talking about?
the impact exactly.
It's like, pay attention.
She sat behind you, didn't she?
She never actually had to raise her hand. No, she had to whoop my brother with a plastic paddle one time, and he just laughed. So that was pretty comical, because that made her mad, because he was still laughing the whole time. Sorry, James, I told a story on you, and you're not here to defend yourself.
Oh.
But you'll have to come on the show to do that. Okay.
Oh. Challenge.
Yes.
Spicy.
Spicy. I can feel the heat.
Hopefully he's watching. But no, that had a huge impact on me. She would open her Bible and she would place it between us so that she would point with her finger and show me exactly where she was in the Bible.
Wait, where she was in the Bible?
Where she was reading in the Bible.
How old was your grandma?
Nice.
No older than yours. And you're welcome. Alan almost did a spit take. He just took a swallow of water.
Just about, man. Just about.
But yeah, that had a huge impact on me. Her taking me to church and taught me how to have faith. Just watching her, because she had a huge faith, and you could say it was huge.
Huge.
Yeah, and she was so kind, always. Even when the Alzheimer's started taking on a rather strong part of her. She would always smile to greet anyone who come in the room, even if she didn't know you, or maybe you were her family, but then she forgot you. She would still, "Hi, honey," regardless of who it was coming in that room, and she just lit up the room every time. That's who she was, and that had a strong impact on me and who I wanted to be. And I also now I know I was talking with you about this.
Yeah,
I talked
you
about
were. I remember
that.
now.
And I talked about my granny. This is on my father's side.
Right.
That's my my dad's grandma. That's who Granny was on that side. And she was a great woman. She was one of those people. She lived down in Tennessee, and so we didn't get to see her that much. But when we did get to see her, she always had a huge impact as well, just like Grandma. She was a woman of faith, certainly a woman who prayed. And we usually, when we got down to Tennessee to go visit, we were getting there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And my brother and I were, usually anywhere between, 4 all the way up and through in our teens when we get down there twice a year to visit. And she'd go, "Honey, do you want some biscuits and gravy?" "Uh-huh." "Honey, do you want bacon and sausage?" "Uh-huh." "I bet a little pork chop on the side." "Oh, yeah." And yeah, she was just always so kind. And that was another woman. The women in my life tend to have shaped me just as much as the men ever did. Right. So I thank God for putting those good, strong women of faith in my life and really showing me the way. It had a huge impact.
Nice.
I like it. I mean, I'll go next. I mean, I'm host. I kind of feel like I'm supposed to go last, but if you guys want to
swing back,
let's do this.
If you got something,
let's do this. Let's go. Let's go.
That's right.
It's go time.
Go time.
It's go time. Anyway,
Subscribe.
Confidence and assurance in that.
Absolutely.
We don't hold anything back here.
No, it's all energy.
Let's go.
All right. So I think I wouldn't say the greatest impact. Of course, everybody in my family has made impacts here and there. Mm-hmm. But my Uncle Wade actually kind of stepped up. We were in a really rocky spot when I was about 15, my freshman year of high school. We moved around a bunch. I think I went to 4 different schools the first semester of freshman year. So luckily I'm outgoing. So I was able to make friends every month when I changed schools.
Yeah. Nice.
And I landed there, and out of nowhere, like it was Christmas. I had just finished up with my 4th school, and we were having Christmas dinner, and he didn't have kids, never had kids. Did his own thing, and we were talking about, my mom was talking about it. I had an offer on the table for me to go stay with a friend's family. They were like, "Hey, our house is open. He'll have a stable home. We'll pay for everything." It was a pretty good setup. I was going to get to play basketball because I wasn't going to have to worry about any of my bills being paid. Things that I was going to get to, try to shoot for my scholarship that I wanted.
There you go.
But instead, mom didn't really want to go that route. She wanted to keep me in the family. Which makes me sound like an heirloom. We got to keep this in the family.
Here's your Alan.
We can pass him off later.
So my uncle, the guy who really didn't have a solid relationship with me for my childhood years, who didn't have kids, who lived on his own, who just basically worked and went home, and that was his life, came in and said, "You know what? I'll take him in, and he can live with me, and he'll have a nice, stable home. Nothing's going to change." And yeah, I mean, the impact he had on me was, first of all, taking me out of that situation.
Yeah.
And in no way, shape, or form is that me talking about my mother. It was just life at that time.
Yeah.
She was everywhere. It was all over the place just because life was hard for her to manage at that time. And, he was not a wealthy guy at all. I mean, he barely made ends meet, but he did. And that's why he went straight to work and straight home. But he brought me in. And not only did he saved me from having to be moved around a million times, but he also taught me a lot of things about money and money management. And he got me the job that I had for 19 years, and when I needed a job out of high school, I graduated early thinking I was going to take the world by storm. Exactly. I was like, man, I'm going to college this fall. I need to make every dollar I can so I can pay for it.
Yeah.
He got me my first job, not my first job, but he got me my first job out of high school because I quit my job so I could graduate early in high school. I was like, I need to graduate early, get rid of this stupid little job. I'll get a bigger job full time. And we're talking 2001, 2002. So right after all the bad stuff happened. So not a whole lot of places were hiring, but he got me a job and I stayed there for 19 years.
Wow.
So he had a massive impact on my early life. I mean, from my early adulthood, between teaching me how to manage my money, teaching me how to make smart decisions, teaching me that you don't get yourself in any kind of financial obligation that you personally need someone else to help you with. Don't buy a house that you need someone else's money to take care of the mortgage, no matter who that person is. But again, he didn't trust people, right? So there's that whole foundation of not trusting people, allowing you to try to build yourself up with that distrust.
And you pick up on things. I mean, obviously, when you have a lot of respect for somebody, you're going to pick up certain characteristics or traits from that person.
Right.
Regardless of how long you're with that person, if they have that huge impact in your life, some characteristics, good, some bad,
Right.
are going to, filter off on you, I mean, whether you come from a stable home or you come from, single parent home. But still, like you said, it was your formative years, obviously, and just having that stability to stay in one area.
Right.
That's something, I can say we stayed in our area from elementary school on up to high school. And yeah, I sometimes didn't want to be at that high school or that junior high, but that stability, we talk about privilege. For me, that was a privilege. It was a privilege to have been raised by a mother and a father. And I recognize that. And I'm grateful for that. I try to understand, I've had friends who came from single parent homes and, they've had their struggles. I mean, I can't say I haven't had my struggles, but, still you have that one person. Sometimes it's a relative, sometimes it's a close friend, sometimes it's a close friend's parent that says, hey, I'm going to invest some time into you. I'm going to put this time into you. And obviously those lessons stuck with you then.
I mean, and the other thing was one last little thing, and I'll get off my soapbox here, which is weird being the host. I'm supposed to be on a soapbox the whole time.
One more thing.
And one more thing. It was a simple fact that he basically told me, I came from a home of welfare, food stamps, things like that. So there was never plenty, and there was nothing that was plentiful. But I always thought he was doing better than us. And for him to go, okay, well, you're going to be old enough to work here in a few weeks or whatever, you better get a job. I'm not buying you a car. I'm not paying your insurance. I'm not even going to put you on my insurance. You're going to have to figure that out. So by the time I hit 18, by the time I was on my own, by the time I went to college, whereas my friends were feeling it out and a lot of them were struggling, I didn't take on any financial issues. I had no problems with this stuff. And it wasn't like I was living in abundance, but my friends were buying sports cars, right? Right? They were buying sports cars and doing all these crazy things. And then those sports cars, vanished 3 months later when they couldn't make the payments. Yeah. And I was driving a beater, but I knew how to work on it. And, I kept my payments, everything. These are the core things he taught me that really taught me it's the long game. It's the long game. It's the long game. Yep. Unfortunately, he's pretty much lived the long game the whole time, right? He's never been like, you know what? Today's the day I get the vet. he's like, maybe we get the rust spot sanded off the truck.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, yes, that's one of the biggest impacts on my life.
Nice.
So you guys, shut me up, please.
I'll let Louis take it since I'm the new guy.
Ooh, look at the altruistic guys. Both of them doing this. The
New
New Yorkers.
That's
New
right.
Yorkers.
Forget about it.
I never had nobody to help me out in anything. I was poor. I was raised. All I had was my mother. And I was doing a lot of bad things. And she must have been one of those spiritual women that she saw the devil in me, and every time I did something wrong, she would beat the living daylights out of me and take the devil out of me. That's
Impact.
yeah. And
Multiple impacts.
now I was older. My aunt always tried to help me out with something or a job or something, or my uncle.
That's
But
cool. This is the part we haven't heard about.
but besides that, that's about it.
See, I haven't heard a whole lot about your aunt and uncle.
Well, my
Believe me, we heard about the impact your mom put on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
One of the other episodes, man.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, I got hit with everything. Baseball bats, sticks, everything.
Oh man.
Extension cords. My mother, she was rough on us. Well, she was alone, so she had to be tough. And a lot of times I was running around with gangs and all that, so she had to be real tough with me. And my uncles, a lot of my uncles had money, and they had stores and grocery stores, and a lot of times they used to take me in, help me, and give me jobs. But I had so many problems, I used to just leave. Never stayed in the store very long. And I thought I wasn't making enough anyway. So. But my aunt, she helped me out a lot when I was married and got divorced. I had a lot of problems then when my wife left me and took the kids and came to Indianapolis because she was raised and born here. And back then I wasn't having no jobs, but my aunt gave me to work, and she helped me out a lot. And I learned a lot from her and my uncle, her husband. I learned from them, and that's when I started picking myself up.
That's cool. That's cool to see that transition. That is really cool to see that. That's impact. That's impact right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
You got away from that life, obviously. So I mean, that makes a big difference when you have someone that says, "I see worth in you," and tries to help you in small ways or big ways. You know,
Weekly, we are peeling back that onion.
Right.
the layers,
Little by little.
layers.
I didn't know about aunt and uncle till today.
Right.
No, I
And just
appreciate
like
that,
you,
Louis.
Jeremy, Louis is a transplant from New York.
Yeah. So fellow New Yorkers,
Yeah.
meet a couple of them here and there.
I mean, hi guys.
I didn't bring my politics to Indianapolis though, so you're welcome.
Oh,
Well, my
definitely
politics would be they're kosher here.
yeah, I was gonna say you're very Midwestern.
We were,
in
yeah, yeah. We
decision-making.
were the redheaded stepchild. No offense meant
the
but
red voting stepchildren.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, definitely. we were.
Nice.
We weren't the popular vote. Let's just say that.
Right.
Not the popular vote.
Well, welcome to the only blue square in our state.
But I see how it goes in Indianapolis compared to New York. So, yeah. So impact, yeah. I mean, I had a couple families growing up. My direct family was my family. It was my parents. We lived right next door to my grandparents. It was like a duplex. So I had my mom and dad, and then I had my grandma and grandpa next door, and then, of course, aunts, uncles, cousins, and all that. But I also had a church family. That was very important to me. That helped me keep grounded in the Bible, in the Word, in prayer. As far as impact, my parents, I always lump my parents and my grandparents together because they were both there, present in my life. Outside of my home life, things weren't kosher. I didn't fit in. I was kind of the oddball out. So I didn't have friends. I was kind of the outsider, that people love to, those people that people love to make fun of and all that other stuff, and kind of put you into this box. It says, well, this is what you are, this is what you look like, this is what this is how you dress. When I got home, it didn't matter though. My parents, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all treated me like you're part of this family. And so having that, it was my grandma and grandpa were stable. They weren't Christians per se, but their values are very definitely Christian. You could tell that they loved each other. They drove each other crazy, but that goes for everybody. But they stayed together. They were faithful to each other. Grandpa worked, grandma worked all their lives, until my grandma retired, till my grandpa retired. But, my grandpa was one of those guys that he always had something going. He had to be doing something. It wasn't just sit still. And now that I'm in my 40s, I can see a lot of that in me too. It's like I can sit still for a while, but after a while it's like, okay, I need to do something,
Yep.
I have to go do something for the church, do something for others that, isn't just self-serving.
What's the next project?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously my dad's very much like that. And so like what I see on my grandpa and what I see in my dad and what I see in myself, it all lines up, And obviously we celebrated Mother's Day. So my grandpa's passed back in 2016, August 2016, he passed. My grandma's still here and my mom. So I celebrate them as well because, having a mom and a dad, mother figure, father figure, all together was just it. I mean, I could see other people's lives, and I want to be grateful for that. I don't want to take that for granted.
It gave you a step up.
Yeah, and so when people talk about privilege, I do consider that a privilege, and I also consider it a privilege that I had those people in my life, and they, when I went to the Marines and my brother later on, that had that connection, and I have a favorite picture of my grandpa and me after I just graduated from boot camp, and you can see my grandpa's face instead of you just see my back, but he's hugging me. And that picture is like one of my favorite pictures. I don't know who took it, but it's like one of those pictures that just sticks with you. I'll bring it at some point. But my dad's very much like that too, So every characteristic that you see in my grandparents, you see in my parents. Even though my mom was not biologically their daughter, I never saw any difference between how they treated her to how they treated my dad. And so it was just that level of respect that made a big impact in my life because I try to treat everybody like that. I try to see everybody for the value that I don't even see, maybe because I've just met them. But that's how I try to look at people. I don't look at skin color. I don't look at all these other characteristics that people will say, oh, look at that person. It's like, no, I've been there. I've been in that place, and it hurts. It hurts to a deep level that just impacts you not only now, but later on down the road. So how do I change that? And I could see you talk about, what we struggle with. And one of those things is I struggled with treating other people based off of how I was treated when I was younger. And that's just when you're young and stupid. You're just like, oh, I'm just joking around and making fun. But it's like, was it really just making fun, or did that have a negative impact on that person?
Oh, crap. That's my whole show.
Oh, see, spoiler alert. Sorry about that.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
But if you like that kind of stuff, go over to Laughing Libertarian and subscribe and stuff.
But for me, that's the impact that I appreciate, is that being able to look at others and love them, like Jesus loves us, and, work hard. Like your uncle showed you. It's like, yeah, if you want it, work for it. My grandpa his favorite quote was, and my dad's favorite quote was, if it's free, question it.
That's what it's worth.
Yeah. If it's free, it's not free. It costs somebody somewhere something. Yeah. That's one of the lines that sticks with me. One of those things that sticks with me. So yeah, big impact by having my parents and grandparents right there, and you just learn to appreciate family for what it is. And I mean, I bring friends, friends and other people that I knew. And my parents' family just welcomes them with open arms, and they get to see what I got to experience. And to me, that's just like, again, that's a gift from God that I never try to take it for granted. And now that I'm down here, I'm separated from my parents up in New York, my brother and his wife, and my niece and nephew out in West Virginia. So it's like that time that I had, over Mother's Day weekend where I got to go to West Virginia, my parents were down at the same time. It's special. It's I appreciate that more and more because I don't have that as constant as I did when I was growing up. Yeah. So, not taking life for granted. I guess that's the big thing, treating others the way you want to be treated, and just appreciating what you have, appreciating those people that made, such a big impact.
Well, I think God sent you down to Indiana in particular so you could meet your rest of your family.
Yeah.
Because we're,
Yeah.
you got some family right here.
Yeah. And I appreciate it.
And I don't know whether to say thank you or you're welcome. I don't know. We'll find that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out as it goes
out.
along. Yeah. So I think we were getting to that. I'm getting to like, I could do this again, maybe.
Maybe. I think he's an hour in. He's still excited.
There's a smile on his face.
Yeah, so that's always a good thing.
It could be fake, but that smile is fake news.
Adverse.
The joy that look on his face, like, oh, why?
All right, Alan, sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
to the opposite of growing your family and growing our family, let's move on to politics. And Jen Psaki wanted to talk about abortion and protest, right? We want to grow our family. Other people want to shrink theirs.
Yeah.
So
Or not let it grow at all.
that's fair.
Just cut it off at the pass.
And most of them were like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Only because my daughter doesn't have to worry about voting against your whatever that was going to be. Louis. Hey, I'm allowed to say that on your show.
Yes, you are.
We'll allow it.
So while we have two people that we absolutely love from New York, we got to quote the New York Post.
Oh,
Nyopo.
Oh, no.
Nyopo.
Neopo.
Naipo?
There you go, Naipo.
I'm sure they appreciate us reading it that way.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, they'll
It's
get
okay.
over it.
So what does Psaki have to say?
Calling it Naipo is more accurate than whatever they're going to report.
Yeah, right.
So Psaki defends peaceful to date abortion protests at justices' homes despite legal concern. Let's go ahead and just dive. I like to dive one paragraph into this real quick and then let us just chomp. White House.
I already got something I want to
Oh,
say.
I can see. And we already know Louis is like,
Louis like, here we go again.
Louis is like, I've got my
One
bottom
more
lip
thing.
tucked under my top lip to give me a second here.
He's gonna
It's-
rant.
It's lip envelope. I'm waiting for this.
La Pombelope?
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on Tuesday defended protests outside the suburban homes of conservative Supreme Court justices as peaceful to date, despite the fact that more of the potentially illegal rallies are planned Wednesday to pressure the judges to abandon a draft anti-abortion rights ruling. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to dig any further into this about the next line here.
I think we pass it to Louis first. 'Cause
Louis!
Yeah. Louis, you're
Get
the
it,
man.
Louis.
Drop some dynamite on us.
Okay,
Okay.
He's stretching.
Here it comes.
these people had the nerve
Ooh!
to go over there to
Or to
these
be.
judges' houses to protest and threaten them. I don't think that was peaceful. They went over there to intimidate them so they could change their voting. And then you got Kamala Harris.
Uh-oh. Louis' favorite.
How dare they tell us what we could do with our body? You know, it's your body, but yet you're still killing people. You're killing little babies. You know, you could do whatever you want. They're not taking your rights of voting or taking your woman's rights away. You still got those rights. The only thing is that they don't want you killing. And then Biden, he's another one, threatening them, trying to change them. You know, they got some nerves. These people really got some nerves. And then they talk about Trump. It's violent. You know, it's not right. It's not right what they're doing. They're wrong, and they should be all put in jail.
Lock him up.
Lock them all up.
That's it. That's how we take care of it in New York.
I just like I like the fact that you made sure to mention women's rights, because like I have a really strong sense. I am pro-choice. I am pro-choice. That doesn't mean I'm pro-abortion. That just means I'm pro-choice because I'm a libertarian. So hey, you know what? Don't bring it in my backyard. It's cool. Do whatever you want to in yours. I may not like it, but I'm going to let you. I'm going to allow you to do it. Right? You can say the things I don't like, but that's your right to do so. Mm-hmm. But I love that you said women's rights, and the reason why I say that is because it's pretty interesting that women's rights is such a big deal when it comes to abortion, when they're aborting mostly, I mean, statistically, mostly female fetuses, right? Female babies. So you're eliminating the rights of another female to live, to actually be able to enjoy those rights that you're trying to save. Does that make sense, guys?
Supposed rights, but yes.
That's what I'm saying. You're like, the women's rights, cool, but we want to get rid of the future women who could actually enjoy those women's rights.
Yeah.
It's such a strange
Could
dichotomy.
be our next president, that woman that you're killing too. You never know.
That's right. Yeah, but
So yeah, this is my first time commenting on a political issue outside of what I've done on Facebook, and well, we all know Facebook. Anyways, when you have a group of people that go to your home, your personal address, and stand out there and protest, to me, that does not in any way, shape, or form ever say peaceful in my book. That's like saying the protests that happened outside of the Benghazi base back in September, 2011, I think, when 13 hours. That's like saying that was a peaceful protest. It may have started off like that, but it doesn't always end like that. And that's like saying those protests that they have back during the Summer of Love, that was peaceful. And it's like, no, there was a lot of bad stuff that happened, but it just wasn't reported.
Just got conveniently left out.
Yeah, or it just got buried. Like the lead got buried by, all this other stuff that was just like, and it's like, we had people back then that were going to restaurants. Oh, this person's going to this restaurant. How did they know about that? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to protest them right there in the restaurant and make them feel, oh, you're just this, and this. And it's like,
I want to imagine a wall of people, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to make a sound decision.
yeah,
And yeah, sure, they're not looking at you going, I'll kill you. But
right?
there's 50 or 60 or 70 or 100 or 200 or 300 standing there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just
I
all
know.
it takes is one match in that powder keg.
Yeah.
And
You know,
according to today's, social conscience, apparently words are violence. So, I mean,
Yeah.
come on. If you're saying, oh, it's not violent. No, you were using words. That's violence. You got to, pick which one you want. Is it words of violence or words? They're just words.
Just don't walk outside with your AR like McCluskey.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I was getting ready to say Alito should call up, his friend, say, hello, Mr. and Miss McCloskey. I got a job for you. I'm about to be taken. I need your special set of skills.
Nice.
And
Nice.
then you got these Democrats out there saying that let's take it to the streets.
Right.
What they mean by that?
Chuck Schumer. That would be a quote from Chuck Schumer.
Yes. What they mean by that? Take it to the street. Get
Democratic
violent?
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. That's not a call to action. Just so you know the name, so you know who it was.
Yeah, no, that's not calling you to do anything. Just letting you know he made sure to use a call to action.
Yeah.
Now, my thing is like if that person who they had doxed, because that's doxing, correct?
Yes,
Where
that's
they
doxing,
hey,
yes, sir.
this is their address. Go to this place. That to me, first off, that's a threat. That's a direct threat. Someone is threatening my life, my livelihood, my family by telling them, hey, this is their address. First off, that is a threat. To me, that is a direct threat because it's not people that like this person. It's people that are trying to say, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't say this. So to me, that's a direct threat. And I don't stand for that at all,
Well, because liberals say doxing doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because there's so much information that's public information now with the internet, right? So they're like, oh, I'm not giving you information you can't find on your own. Yeah, but you're wrapping it up with a bow and handing it out and going, this is where he is. Let's go.
Yeah. And this isn't the first time we've seen this. Like I said, back during the big, all the protests that were happening, while Trump, President Trump was still in office, it was just like, oh, it's not violent. It's only, it's mostly peaceful. It's like, define mostly. But like I said, if there was like an equal response, like I feel directly threatened, I'm sitting in my home and I have these people standing outside and they're yelling some stuff that's like, obviously they're not going to put that. Yeah. It's not going to be pushed in the media.
Abrasive.
That's putting it mildly, I think.
Mildly abrasive.
But it's like, if I responded in kind, like, get off my property, my personal property, and they refused to do that, and I responded in kind, like, okay, I have a weapon. Now I want you to get off my property, or else I will respond in kind, or I will call the police, one or the other.
Or, hello, Mr. Eastwood, I need you to tell them to get off my lawn.
Right.
Go ahead, make my day. But it's like,
off
to
my
me, it's like
buddy's
if that had been the response where, I have a direct threat, and that person, I shot somebody, how far would I go before they'd be like, oh, this guy, look at this guy, he's terrible, I think if you had a person that responded in kind to that, to a violent crowd, the person who responded, like, they would be the one that would be, cast down by the media.
Yeah, you don't
and
see
say,
the
oh,
first
look
punch.
at this guy, he's violence, and with this is a problem with people with guns, and it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
it's like it's a lose-lose situation no matter what to me. But again, I consider that a direct threat when you have someone that doxes, especially obviously it's somebody in the government or someone attached to the government. It's like, hey, like slipping them information under the table.
Yeah.
But it just does not sit right with me at all.
It was a leak.
And we could talk. We talked about
Happens a lot in New York.
The idea of abortion in a previous podcast, and even went down the road of how I feel about it and everything. And Louis and I talked about it at length, so I'll leave that aside. But with this particular article saying peaceful up to this point, or however she quoted it,
Peaceful
is this,
protest.
what she's saying is peaceful for now, unless you voted a way that we don't like, and then
Right.
it's a vote the way I want you to, or else.
Right.
And
hey, by the way, yeah, it's a covered threat.
yeah,
I don't know,
and
because
here's the bigger issue.
If my parents said or else, I knew that was not a good thing. That was going to be the or else is a bad thing. You do this or else.
Here's the
bad thing.
Here's the bigger issue, though. These people are going there and showing up based on what actual disinformation. Because I guarantee you, if you were to go as a man on the street and go up and ask them, what is Roe v. Wade? What did it mean? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my show, but yeah, the show I dropped this weekend talks about that. Yeah, that's yeah, oh my gosh, if you only understood that getting rid of Roe v. Wade does not make abortion illegal, I can't talk about this
enough.
I can't talk about this without using 4-letter words, guys. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
I heard
your
it.
brain wrapped around it, right? That's why you see me kind of twitching last
Alan,
week, because I was
you're
like,
leaking.
Oh, so much pain. Just read the 10th Amendment. Just read it, please.
just for a minute.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we were watching a video where, Steven Crowder was interviewing people, and it was actually a very cordial, like, he wasn't being Steven Crowder.
No.
He was like, I want an honest conversation with somebody. And a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, well, I don't want to see, it revoked because I don't want to see abortion illegal. And it's like, that's not what that means.
Just gives the powers back to the states.
And he
in
would
the first
explain
trimester.
to him,
That's
and
it.
it's like,
That's it.
it's just giving power back to the states to say, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to put limits. And it was like, oh yeah, I can get behind that. It's like,
Well, and you also have to understand that most states are progressive enough. I'm not saying progressive.
Yeah.
Like, right? But they're progressive enough to go, okay, it's been this way for so long. We'll just keep it that way. Most states are going to say, first trimester, cool. We've been doing it a long time. That's been acceptable among everyone. Seemed to be pretty cool with that. Like 80% of America, I think it's 68% or something like that of America is like, it is what it is. I don't really like it, but I can accept it at this level, and that's it, right? Or the other side's been like, well, I'd like it to go a little further, but at least we have something. And so I think if it were actually repealed, I think most states would go, we'll stay here.
And you got a lot of states that could make their own rules. Either they accept it or they don't
It's
accept
true.
it.
Absolutely.
yeah. And my thing is, it's like when you start hearing stories about babies being born or the abortion failing and the baby surviving the abortion, and then they leave the child out there, and they're like, well, what do you want to do with this child? It's like,
Like in Virginia.
it's born. I mean, it's life, right?
Yeah.
It's
It's no longer a cluster of cells.
it's not just something that's buried inside a person's body. It's an actual living human being, and you're just saying, well, we're just going to leave it there. And I'm like,
Come on, Governor
How-
Northam,
how-
put the makeup down for a minute.
Yeah.
Stop putting the blackface on, and go and
It wanted to be where the people are, and it made it.
yeah.
And if you don't want that baby, give it to somebody that wants it.
Right.
There's always people out there that can't have babies and wants to adopt babies.
But the problem is with our country, and it's been a long, I think, a problem since the beginning, is the more you allow things to, like, the big word is redefine. We love to redefine things, redefine marriage, redefine all this other stuff. And it's kind of like, well, when you push that limit, you know, and we've seen it, they're going to push that limit even more. And then they're going to push it further. And then they're going to push it further. And to the point where we're like, how did it go from here to here? I mean, we were just talking about, aborting a baby because the woman's health, was threatened or something like that.
Never stops.
But now there's a child on the table crying, breathing, and they're asking the parent, well, do you want this child to,
You got 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours to decide. But it's like, how did we get to this point where we're just like, it's a living human being that's been born, and they're still like, no, we're just gonna let it,
They like to move the goalposts
expire,
and pull the rug out from underneath you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
speaking of moving goalposts,
Moving goalposts. I was going to say, contrary to babies, which we want, let's talk about a press secretary we don't.
swapping
Oh,
secretaries
Louis got something here.
this fall on NBC.
You almost had it, Alan. Sorry.
Talking,
He said one more thing.
talking about if you don't want to have an abortion, wear condoms. they got needles that they shoot you so you don't have babies. They got those, whatever they call those things.
And you guys were already good.
Contraceptives.
You guys were already
Contraceptives.
good putting chemicals in your body that you didn't know anything about.
Exactly.
You know,
We want to legalize them now.
Let me
so,
just boost that. So who's what's going on?
In an obvious swap at MSNBC.
Ooh, you hit
I
that.
got to get there. I got to get there because Jen Psaki's going to MSNBC. And our new press secretary, at least what we're finding out from the Washington Times, believes Fox News is racist. She must have came from MSNBC.
Wow.
So they just traded teams here. Says a new White House press secretary called Fox News racist and made stolen election claims. Green Jean-Pierre is preparing to take over for Jen Psaki as White House press secretary at the end of the week, and her previous blasts at those who don't share her progressive views are drawing fresh media attention. In 2020, she said on MSNBC, "Oh, I was joking." That Fox News is
Called
a
it.
little
bit of foresight.
is racist, right? They're like, "Hey, Karine, keep your chair warm. We got Jen Psaki in there."
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So they're so is this from the show Trading Places?
Boom. Yeah. Right.
There's a direct correlation. It's with the females this time.
In
Or Trading Spouses.
and trading spouses and trading houses.
There you go. There you
In
go. I like
2019, she urged Democrats not to attend the annual convention of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee,
Oh, man.
accusing the bipartisan pro-Israel group of severely racist, Islamophobic rhetoric. Okay, so how do we feel about this? Like, we literally went from, hey, the world's racist to, hey, the world's racist, but worse.
and then when they
It's more racist somehow. It's completely racist, but it's also more racist.
and then when you quote them, they say no, it's a political thing. It was a political phase that I went through. You know, it wasn't true. It was just like Kamala when she was saying that Biden was prejudiced.
So,
You know?
so here's the thing. I smoked, but I didn't inhale. That's basically what it is here. I don't think you're ready for that. That's okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clinton.
And then you had Psaki when she was pronouncing her. They looked like they were going to make up, have a sex thing there in a minute. They were hugging and kissing each other, and she was so happy to introduce her and everything.
Disney might as well have sent down one of their producers. They had their dream come true right there.
They can't afford to after I saw the next thing we're going to talk about.
That's gonna be the next Disney Plus series right there.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right there.
Psaki and Jean-Pierre?
Yep.
Yeah.
Trading secretaries?
Psaki Pierre.
Or swapping secretaries. Swapping secretaries. That'll be the new one on Disney Plus.
Call him Psaki Pierre.
Coming this fall. So what, you say you got another article for us?
You want us to dive into that already?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
They're not ready.
No.
They're not ready.
No.
I'm so happy you mentioned Disney Plus because coming the end of the year, or at least the end of the quarter, they're going to be Disney deficit.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
They're going into the negative?
I mean,
They're going to
they already did as far as I'm concerned.
just tumble right down behind Netflix,
Well,
right?
they alienated a lot of people.
Right?
Go broke, go broke, go broke, go broke.
Yeah.
So as far as the Daily Caller is concerned, where we're getting this article, DeSantis scores legal win over new law revoking Disney's special privileges. And that doesn't mean Fast Pass, everyone.
Oh, boy.
A federal or girl, they don't know.
Oh, gosh.
A federal judge dismissed a lawsuit Tuesday challenging Republican Florida governor. That was weird. That was really written strangely. That's okay. I'm not judging you.
He wasn't
Challenging Republican.
wasn't an English
Florida
major,
governor.
okay?
Come on, Daily
Ron
Caller, get
DeSantis'
together.
legislation
It's not his
stripping
primary
Disney
language.
of special tax privileges.
Oh, no.
DeSantis signed Senate Bill 4C into law in late April to revoke special tax districts granted to Disney by the 1967 Reedy Creek Improvement Act, which gave the major entertainment company the same authority and responsibility as a county government. The governor took action following Disney's uproar over the state's parental rights and education bill that restricts the teaching of sexual orientation and gender identity in K through 3 classrooms. So, DeSantis, my favorite guy. Let's talk about it.
I kind of like your new word, genter, though.
Genter.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's when you're entering into a new gender,
Yeah. A
right?
Genter.
It's genter. I was
I'm
gentering.
gentering right now.
I was gentering, yes.
Refer to him as Z.
Oh, gosh.
Z is Z is talking.
You have gentered into the next part of your life.
Well, let's just put it where it is, with the perspective of Disney being a family company.
That's in quotations, air quotes for those
Now-
who are listening on audio.
Yeah, sorry about that. Even back in the 90s, you heard things. I heard things, even as a kid, but I grew up watching, Walt Disney films, loved it. Animation, it's just the art style. Everything was just, it would get you that place of like, wow, I wish I could do something like that, and,
You wanted to be where the people are?
I did.
That's fair. You're here. Welcome.
Well, thanks. Do I get a, what's the fork?
A dingle hopper?
The dingle hopper.
Yeah,
Yes.
under
Or a
the
snarf flat. I want a snarf flat. That's what I want. But,
Once you hit a certain age, you want to start. Sorry, go ahead.
but someone pointed out, Disney is not run by the CEO. He's a figurehead, and the minority, or I should say the majority now, I think more so than ever, runs the company. And they definitely have, even admittedly on video, on audio, that they have an agenda. And they even called it the gay agenda. So the CEO, obviously, he catered to that. And he said, well, he believed the whole don't say gay bill, even though that's not the official title,
Fake
quote
news.
unquote.
Oh, jeez.
And
Read
even
things, guys. Read things.
you had your Hollywood types joining in, like Ron Perlman coming in, and it's like, say the word, just say it. It's like, okay, yeah, just go back to reading a script.
Just go
Sorry.
keep beating your head on a rock because it looks like he's just been just beating his head on a rock
Yeah.
daily.
What's that? What word do you want me to say? Irrelevant?
Inconceivable. But
He really drugged down the show Sons of Anarchy. I just had to say that it was a good show other than him.
But it's one of those things where, we're seeing Disney where it is, and I can almost 100% see where it's going, and it's not good. And to me, like I said, as a childhood fan, it's sad to see that because, again, there was so much encompassed within the company that was used for good, regardless of what their politics were, because you didn't really hear about the politics. It was more kind of like it was a side, like, oh yeah, I heard whispers. But now it's like, now they are like, we're going, they've gone political. Disney is now like another party
Right.
in this country where it's like, oh yeah. And it's like, oh, and they try to sell it like, oh, we're not politicizing this, when they actually are politicizing it. But
Beyond belief.
Just like every other company, they're afraid of 1%. I don't
Oh,
mean
yeah.
the 1%.
Yeah.
I mean a particular 1% of this country that you're trying to say, hey guys, we're a good company. Please, we need the money of that 1% of you that we're trying to appeal to, while we lose 20 or 30% of our audience. It's
put that
so dumb.
put that agenda in there. I'm not running this company. I'm just collecting a paycheck right now.
Well, they got to
do
govern-
what you got to do.
Well, they got to govern themselves, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
For a time.
For a long time.
Yeah, and they
obviously-
didn't have to pay taxes during that time.
Not at
Obviously,
all.
DeSantis is
So-
changing that.
During that time, they were like, phenomenal cosmic power. And then Ron DeSantis, Ron DeSantis goes, I think you're going to pay taxes now, and we're going to go ahead and govern your land. Itty bitty living space.
It's very true. Very true.
They are now Jafar. They're not Genie. They're Jafar now.
One too many snakes on the head.
Yeah. One too
Does
many.
that mean the tickets are going to go up?
Of course. They got to
Oh,
pay
yeah.
taxes now.
Yeah.
Well, see, they paid for Star Wars.
I didn't want to go in the first place.
They paid for Star Wars, and now they're going to really pay for Star Wars because they're not really. The fans have kind of like, yeah, Chewie's walking out like, I'm done with this. I thought you growled. No, I'm talking now. I'm tired of using Wookiee.
The Wookiee is going to walkie.
Yeah, he's Han Solo's gone. I'm out of here. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm
They ruined Star Wars.
blowing this popsicle stand.
I know that Florida people used to pay half price. That means they're going to pay full price now.
Oh, they're definitely pay
They'll
full
pay double.
price.
They'll pay double.
They're going to pay double, man.
Did you say you vote conservatively? Quadruple, please. I don't know. Whatever the sign says. Whatever the sign says.
I sit back and I enjoy watching a bunch of liberals get super upset over this when they shot down Amazon and they hate Amazon. They hate all these tax breaks that other places get. And they think with tax breaks they think they get, when they don't realize that a lot of the tax breaks that these large companies that are coming into areas, that first of all, they're temporary tax breaks. They're not, what was this, 1967? We're talking 45 years of just being able to govern yourself and not pay taxes. We're talking these other places like an Amazon facility, like one that went to we're supposed to go to New York and AOC shot it down. Hey, just saying, she's my mortal enemy. Anyway,
Oh
nay
no.
means nay.
nay means nay. Loved your work last Sunday. This close to winning that Triple Crown, I think. So anyway,
Hang on.
when these companies
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. You're welcome. Thank you, Jiminy.
but they don't realize that these companies come in and they provide jobs, right? So it's not,
Right.
and they're like, oh, who cares about the jobs? Well, I don't know. Everybody in the area where they're going to be going, first of all, and second of all, those people are going to be paying taxes. So when you provide a service that betters an area, and you not only do that, but you employ thousands upon thousands of people who also are now going to pay taxes. So now they get tax revenue from people they wouldn't have gotten tax revenue from. Kind of seems like a net gain. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, with her economics
Florida?
degree, I can understand. So,
So you could have nice roads in Florida.
yeah, there you go. Now we shoot back down to Florida. It's like, hey guys, you don't want them to, you want them to pay tax. You're mad that they're going to have to pay taxes, but you didn't like these other places that didn't have to pay taxes. I'm trying to understand where this is going. So that is my personal love this week, was
Well,
watching just
Alan.
my favorite place shouldn't have to pay taxes.
But Alan, they want the best of both worlds. Okay, they
the
they
problem.
can't. You just
Well,
don't
now
throw
they're in a whole new
knowledge.
world.
Don't throw wisdom in their face. What's that?
So now they're in a whole new world.
Yeah, and it's not a world you want to explore.
Don't you dare close your eyes.
Right.
I want to. Is it over yet?
No, it's not. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No,
Don't do it.
no. But it's
Oh my
it's
gosh.
one of those things. Someone said, companies like Disney, they think, well, we're going to push you into this because you want what we have. You want the entertainment we have, the parks that we have. But I've heard, there's a gentleman that I listen to on YouTube. I won't plug it because we don't know him. But, I mean, he speaks a lot of truth, and it's like these people depend on you. And it's obviously, if you think, people like, Star Wars or these other series where it's like, Marvel, because all these are now Disney. It's like, if we just wait, we're going to see a movie that is reminiscent of the stuff we used to love that used to come out of Marvel or Disney. And it's like, no. You're just feeding into it, and they're just seeing that you're feeding into it. So they're going to keep putting out stuff that we don't agree with. And he said basically what it is they don't like you. If you don't line up politically or socially with what they try to push, then they don't like you. They want your money
but
still.
They'll always love your money.
They always want your money, but they don't. It's like, are you going to support a company that, obviously pushes this now? Because it's not even like, it's not even behind closed doors. It's like we're seeing this now. How much they are just like, we're doing this political social movement, and if you don't like it, well, you take your money else. Well, they're not going to tell you, give us your money still, but we don't like you.
That's why we got to keep creating things like this, where you have alternative media they can turn to. Things like the Daily Wire, things like the Blaze Network, things like right over here at Revolver Broadcasting, our home.
Someone even said, this is the time if you are a comic book artist or writer, and you have this idea, I want to get into comics, start your own company. Put out your own comics, because this is the perfect time. The best thing that is coming out for comics right now is not from our country anymore. It is manga from like Japan. Yeah. That is the stuff that is hitting big right now. Comics, DC, Marvel, the two big ones, and even some of the smaller ones are not doing great.
I'd say for now, call Glenn Beck or from Blaze, or call up Ben Shapiro. And or email them, or however you would reach out. And eventually, if we start getting the bills paid over here at Revolver Broadcasting,
looking at you guys. Sorry, we're looking at you.
Show me the money.
In the future, we would love to employ you. So you got to comment, you got to share, you got to subscribe, get us out there, because when this thing blows up and we start passing out paychecks, we want to pass out paychecks to animators. We want to pass out paychecks to people that are going to create alternative media,
writers. I want writers.
Yes, writers, editors.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I'm tooting my own horn. Sorry. I do enjoy writing. But that's my thing. It's like I'm looking at I go back to my childhood. Disney was like one of those places I would love to work. You just had this picture in your head of, I would love this, and it's like I'm kind of glad I didn't go into it, because I'd probably be
It'd be living space.
Yeah. I'd be living out of a cardboard box, basically, right for, that starving artist thing. But it's like, this is where we're at, though. Create the alternate to Disney. Create these other places. If you feel like you have a story that you want to tell, this is the time to do it, because there are a lot of people that are hungry for that type of thing, for what Disney and Marvel used to bring. And this is the time to do it. You could probably hit big if you just out there telling stories and not pushing politics or social justice. I want to tell a great story. I want to show great art. Absolutely. I want to do something that's creative, that brings other people, stirs their imagination. It's like, I want to do that too. That's what Disney and Marvel and DC used to be, sadly. I think they can get back there again, but I think they're going to before that happens. Sorry, Louis.
I want to add something. We ran out of time.
Man.
Man.
We went down to 0.
Well, talking about inspiration.
If they're not creative, they can give us their money directly, and we'll create more programming like the Laughing Libertarian, Faith, Family, and Politics.
There you go.
Rodriguez Rants.
We're waiting for that, buddy. That's coming soon. I know.
I'm so stoked.
I saw some pilots.
I'm going to start a series. It's called The Peanut Gallery. So I just throw in random comments and noise effects.
I'd watch that.
From the
Do you want to lead us out in prayer?
Yeah, there we go.
And then we'll I'll finish it up.
I think we'll leave it to our guest here.
Are we gonna
did a good job?
give us a prayer, and then we'll close it all up nice.
All
And
right.
Put a little Disney bow on it, like a Minnie Mouse bow.
It's not polka dotted anymore now.
It goes on
took
Mickey,
away the
and it goes
polka
on
dots.
Mickey as well. So
Yeah, right.
Oh boy.
Oh boy!
Gosh. All right. Dear Lord, we thank you for this time we've had together. We thank you, Lord, for the fun time we've had. We thank you, Lord, for the fact that you help us to find common ground with those we may not agree with, but Lord, we always can find common ground, Lord, because of who you are and what you do in our lives. And so we just ask that your blessing will be upon the rest of this evening, be with those who are listening in or watching. Lord, you know the needs that they may have, you know the struggles they may be going through, and I ask that you would just be with each one who is within the sound of our voice. So we thank you for this time we've had together. We ask your blessing upon each of us as we leave. Give us traveling mercies, and we'll look forward to seeing what you have in store for us the next time. And with all we say and do, we want to just give you all the praise and all the glory and honor in your name. Amen.
Amen. That's what you close right there. Well, everyone, we thank you for tuning in this week for episode 19. Obviously, next week's going to be a special episode, 20.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to being on, hopefully. Yeah. Not as a host. But anyway, we got to give that honor to Josh. Definitely. So, to my left here, Lou Rodriguez, future host of Rodriguez Rants.
Thank you for having me.
We absolutely have to have you, buddy. You're the heart and soul.
Thank you.
We have, I don't know who I want to go with next. We'll go with our special guest here, Jeremy Hess.
You got to end it with the big man, the little man. Big little man.
Somebody.
Little big man.
The other guy.
The other guy.
Jeremy
I'm
Hess.
that other guy, the other Jay. Yeah. No, it was a pleasure being here. It was nice to meet Louie and Alan. And I know this guy, so I can't say anything nice about him that I already haven't already said. So there you go.
I appreciate that.
But no, it's I've watched a couple of the podcasts now just to kind of get a taste for it, and a lot of good things that I've heard. And like I said, this is great for me because it kind of gets me engaged and putting myself out there. This was something that I wanted to do at some point, but it's just finding the time to do it.
Hey, you're saying things in a place where it's harder for them to bait. Unlike that book.
But I do like being able to be able to talk about this. It lessens the burden of like pulling my hair out. Right. So
it's been a blessing.
So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Thank you. And of course we have Josh Cummins, the regular host, bringing us the word here.
I'm just regular.
He's regular. He's more like a venti
On par. Yeah. Just venti.
He's definitely not a tall.
Yeah.
Bringing you the message this week. Fantastic job, sir.
Gotta have faith.
I know.
Gotta have
absolutely. Faith. And I appreciate you putting me in this seat. So that makes me the special host.
That's why you get the red mic. It's the fire
The
mic.
red mic. Fire of power. Thank you for letting me annoy you guys. Thank you guys. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm Alan McFarland. This is Faith, Family, and Politics. Please like, subscribe, and share. Just share. And come back next week. Thanks again.
Comment.